Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today the 27th of October, 2022. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So the all-core devs calls are back in full swing today at 2 p.m. UTC. So as Tim Byko says here, there is a lot to cover, and you can see the packed agenda at this link, which of course will be linked in the YouTube description. But just for ease of time here, I'll read out the agenda. So they'll be planning around Shanghai, which is obviously that next network upgrade coming up hopefully soon. That involves client teams, updates / priorities, fork activation, current CFID EIPs with a withdrawals update, Shandong, that testnet that I spoke about. I guess that devnet that I spoke about the other day, other topics as well down here, and some comments here as well, which you can obviously go check out. But yeah, very cool to see that the all-core devs calls are back, and I'm very excited to see all the updates from that and see where we're at on a number of different fronts. Obviously, we all want to know when Shanghai is going to go live, especially things like withdrawals and proto dank-sharding, so very much looking forward to seeing the updates from that. All right, so speaking of MEV lately, obviously I've been speaking about it a lot in the context of censorship resistance and censorship in general on Ethereum. Domothy here, who is a Daily Gwei OG, put together a ETH research post and a Twitter thread explaining their new proposal on how to tackle this issue of MEV, right? Because, and I was thinking about this after I saw Dom's post, I was like, okay, like what is really the root issue here of censorship on Ethereum? It's not necessarily like the censorship, right? The root issue is MEV. MEV is what's enabling the censorship. And the reason why the censorship can happen is because we're given way too much power to these relays, right, that exist, or to block builders that exist on Ethereum. And that is the cause, right? There is the effect, and then there's a cause and effect, right? So the cause is MEV, the effect is censorship. So what if we eliminate as much MEV as possible, remove MEV entirely, or make it a more competitive kind of process / market? Well, Dom's got an idea here, and that's basically, what if we burned the MEV? So you can check out this post here on ETH Research. It's quite lengthy, actually, and it looks like he's been working on this for quite a while. So just a big kudos to them for getting this out there. And they've got a few replies here as well from people like Micah and Barnaby, who you will probably know of. I've talked about them a bunch on the Refuel as well. But basically, the TLDR here is that the idea is to get rid of the monopoly, the MEV monopoly, by taking a random sample of validators every slot. A slot is basically every 12 seconds in proof of stake, and it's otherwise referred to as a block, and letting them compete against each other. Whoever is willing to burn the most ETH gets to propose the block and collect the block proposer reward from the newly issued ETH. This doesn't change anything for block builders. They're still competing with each other like they are today. It's just that their bids end up being burned instead of given to a single person, meaning they'd be bribing the network itself instead of a single proposer every slot. If done right, this could fix a big centralization vector for validators. Suddenly, controlling more validators doesn't mean getting disproportionately more income. It just means you burn MEV more often, bringing us closer to the goal of, quote, X% of the stake gets you X% of the rewards, end quote. So this is more on the side of fixing, I guess, validator centralization and that incentive to basically go with a giant pool because you can get better rewards from things like MEV, right? And I think this is a really great and pretty cool solution. As I said, there's some discussion on the ETH research post. There was some discussion on Twitter. I think Polymarket actually brought up a concern with this, or said like a disadvantage. So disadvantage would be that it exacerbates ETH volatility, as thus far MEV has been proportional to speculative activity velocity at a time at which ETH's value is already overinflated. To be better money, ETH must improve its volatility. I think what Polymarket's trying to say here, and I don't really necessarily disagree, but don't agree either. I'm kind of neutral on this, but what they're trying to say is that a lot of MEV, or most of it, is tied to ETH volatility, right? When ETH price goes up, there's a lot of market activity. When ETH price goes down, there's a lot of market activity. That translates into on-chain activity, which translates into MEV opportunities, right? Whether they be liquidations, sandwich attacks, front running, all that sorts of stuff. Volatility is like the beating heart of MEV. At least for on-chain MEV, right? So when you think about it like that, what Polymarket is basically saying is that this new thing that Dom's come up with would exacerbate that ETH volatility, which would lead to having more MEV and lead to maybe more perverse outcomes down the line. And there was a few other replies here as well, both, pros and cons. Obviously, nothing's perfect, right, guys? But The reason why I thought this was interesting and wanted to highlight it, or at least the main reason, was simply because there are so many people working on not just censorship concerns or censorship issues within Ethereum, but also the issues around centralization of stake/validators. Now, what I find funny about this whole concept of centralization of validators and stake is that people will say, well, you know, you can just go on proof of work and it fixes the issue. No. It doesn't matter if it's hash power or stake. The problem is, and the heart of the problem is, that things tend to centralize based on economies of scale. In proof of work, the economies of scale are pretty self-explanatory, right? You have more money, you can buy more mining hardware, you can earn more rewards, and then you keep going up and up and up, right? And you keep... And basically, the people who, and it's also very costly to set up a mining operation, and over time it tends to centralize. The same is true for staking, but just in a different way. And with Ethereum as well, with smart contract blockchains, you have MEV, which is also another pressure on centralization, right? Because as I said, because of MEV, people tend to pool their stake together so that they can get access to more rewards from that MEV instead of doing it on their own and proposing it on their own. So what Dom's proposal here does is try to flip that on its head. Instead of going to the actual proposer, the MEV, or I guess like the burn, the ETH burned, or the profits would go to the network itself through that burning mechanism. And this is, I guess, in the same line of thinking around EIP 1559, right? Where most of the value of a transaction, the fee revenue from that transaction, I should say, sorry, is burned, and the miners get a little bit of that as a tip. And this has proved to be pretty awesome for a number of different reasons. So let's, maybe apply that to MEV as a whole. So we're gonna have to see how this evolves and how Dom's proposal is, I guess, refined over time and taken by the community. But if this ends up in the network, this would be really cool. I think that, I don't know, personally, I think it's really cool because Dom has been active in the Daily Gwei Discord channel. As I said, is a Daily Gwei OG, and it'd be awesome to see someone from the Daily Gwei community get something into the core protocol. Like that basically makes Dom, I mean, it doesn't make him a core dev, so to speak, but it definitely gets him as close as anyone else. Closer than me, that's for sure. So yeah, I just like this little personal note there on that one, but you can check this out for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so speaking of MEV, we have a new relayer out today from this Twitter account, Builder0x69. So they are now producing full unfiltered blocks, unfiltered meaning not censoring blocks, so not OFAC compliant blocks, at this website, relayor.wtf. It's fully open sourced, completely permissionless, validates only block payment but not block content. If you're a small scale validator interested in protecting ETH neutrality, you're welcome to connect. Now, I like this first sentence here, part of this first sentence where they said, validates only block payment, but not block content. That's how it should be. That basically means it validates based on how much you're willing to pay for your transaction to get into a block, not based on block content, which is what something like the Flashbots relay is doing. They're doing the block payment as well, obviously, but they're also doing the block content where they're basically saying, okay, well, if this is coming or if this is going to a Tornado Cash address or to an OFAC sanctioned address, don't process this. And that's obviously what we want to eliminate, or at least get rid of as much as possible. And one way of doing that is by having a diverse relayer market, basically, that people can choose from and that validators can choose from. Now, this is literally very, very new. This is I think this only came out less than 24 hours ago, and they've already got almost 1,000 validators that are active on their relay here. So obviously it's nothing major yet, but as I said, they just came out, right? You're gonna have to give it time. But it's cool to see that they've got almost 1,000 validators already. To put that in a bit of context, I guess there's 450,000 validators active right now on the network. Not all of those validators are currently using MEV Boost either. So if we go to the MEV Watch website, we can get kind of, I guess, actually maybe the Radar.network website will give us a better kind of view here. Let me get this tab up here. So yeah, we can kind of see the distribution here and how things are looking. Let's have a look here. So I just want to look at, it's going to be kind of hard for me to work this out on the fly here. I wanted to look at how many validators were using Flashbots, and I've got a percentage here, but this is a percentage of all MEV boosted blocks, and then Rated Network will show, yeah, I mean, it'll show it kind of, Yeah, it's kind of hard to get the percentage here, but obviously Flashbots is extremely prevalent on the network. Maybe if I include all blocks, that's that's a good proxy, because you can basically say, let's have a look. I'm just doing quick math. I know that I'm rambling a little bit here, but I'm trying to do this on the fly. So 7% is not Flashbots. So if we do that, 63% of all blocks, and then we do 80. Let's do naive math. Let's just say 60% are censoring right now. So 60% of the total validators would be around 200 and, I don't know, 80 or 290,000 validators are currently part of the censoring ones. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously quite a small share right now, but hopefully that grows and hopefully it chips into those censoring relayers. So if you want to check this out and possibly point your validators towards this, you can. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so smartprogrammer.eth from the Nethermind team today put out just an update tweet saying that they have synced with Shandong. So Nethermind is now on that Shandong devnet that I've spoken about. The usual process here, guys, of testing EIPs that go into the Ethereum upgrades is the, I guess, specifications of those EIPs, obviously, and then doing devnets around them, then doing testnets, then mainnet. So we're at the devnet phase, which is very cool. I've gone through yesterday how withdrawals are making good progress. There's a lot of progress happening on proto dank-sharding, of course, as well, and a bunch of the other EIPs, but we already have the devnets out. If we can get a testnet out for these sorts of stuff, maybe by the end of the year, that'd be very promising for a possibly late Q1 Shanghai upgrade coming to the Ethereum network. Maybe early Q2, as I've discussed. Timelines are always all over the place, but that's my current thinking around the timelines there. All right, so speaking of EIP 4844/proto dank-sharding, that meme that I spoke about the other day around blobs, right, and around blob space and things like that, there's also another meme that is the dot small o large o. And now what this actually translates to is that the dots is data availability today. So we have a very small amount of data availability today, right, like on the Ethereum network. The lowercase o is proto dank-sharding. So we increase that by a little bit. I mean, not by a little bit, we increase it by about 10 to 100x, right? It's obviously a lot. But then we go big O, which is full dank-sharding. So full dank-sharding is going to give us much more capacity than we have under proto dank-sharding. But I think this is really cool because it's actually like a meme that makes a lot of sense. And I think there's been a bit of confusion around this, as you can see from the replies, that Tim's saying, this is literally the reason for the meme. And then Ansgar said here, well, I hope you realize the amount of confusion you created, because literally no one could tell me what it meant. And he's got a screenshot of Trent Van Epps here saying, Tim started it. I think it's just blobs of various sizes, which is kind of, I guess, it kind of like in the same realm of what this actually is. But yeah, this is our new meme. So if you see people saying this, I should say a period, then a lowercase o and a big case O, it basically means data availability today, proto dank-sharding, and full dank-sharding. We are actually much closer to proto dank-sharding than I think people think, which is cool. Full dank-sharding, I think people underestimate how long that's going to take. I think that's why proto dank-sharding is even a thing, is because we know that full dank-sharding may take... Look, if I had to put a timeline on it, it could take till like 2025, guys. Like, that's how complex this sort of stuff is. And I think one of the most complex parts of it is DAS, or data availability sampling, and making sure that we understand that correctly, we implement that correctly, and we can actually implement it. So I wouldn't expect full dank-sharding anytime soon, but proto dank-sharding, I mean, realistically, we can have that in the first half of next year. If not, maybe we have it a little bit later, but that's definitely coming much sooner than full dank-sharding. All right, so I've spoken a lot about DVT, or distributed validator technology, lately, and and Lido announced today that they're actually initiating a pilot integration of DVT with SSV network here. So they're using 8 node operators on the Goerli testnet to do this, and they're successfully operating 2 well-performing distributed validators already. So very cool to see the biggest staking entity on Ethereum taking advantage of the DVT technology, because as I've described before, DVT allows us to have a healthier, more reliable, more decentralized beacon chain, and that's obviously what we want, right? And DVT also helps with things like centralized exchange staking. Now, as I've described before, if, for example, Coinbase has their obviously staking operation, but they use DVT, what could happen is that you would still retain basically full custody of your ETH that you're staking with them, and then at any time you could withdraw that from there, but they would still control the validator, obviously, they being Coinbase, but you could withdraw your ETH. So it eliminates that custody risk, but it also still allows you to outsource your validator responsibilities or duties to Coinbase. Now, of course, there is an element of, I don't know if I'd call it custody, but there is an element of risk there still, because obviously if Coinbase's validators get slashed, your ETH is getting slashed, doesn't matter if you can withdraw it or not, it's going to get slashed, right? And you can also, if Coinbase's validators go offline, you suffer from an activity leak, but the whole point would be that you're able to basically retain that control over your funds rather than giving it over to Coinbase, which is obviously very cool. It's very good for Coinbase as well. The less they have to custody, the better, and they can still offer the same service, right? They just have to run the DVT software instead. So very cool to see Lido doing a pilot program here with SSV Network, one of the leaders in this space. I hope to see more and more of these DVT implementations go live over the coming months. All right, so speaking of dank-sharding, Haim here has another great thread out today. It's a 30-part tweet thread talking all about dank-sharding. They start off this thread by saying, from A to KZG, a comprehensive guide to the post-merge roadmap of the world computer. Proto dank-sharding, propose a builder separation, and dank-sharding. So it covers the whole spectrum here. And as I said, it's a 30-part tweet thread, so you can go check this out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But I just wanted to highlight this for you guys because I think it's very important to be aware of these three things in particular, because they are three of the biggest upgrades coming to Ethereum over the next few years. And if you want to be at the forefront of Ethereum knowledge, well, this is where you want to be. All right, so Brantley here put out a great tweet thread about sign in with Ethereum today. Now, I've spoken about sign in with Ethereum a bunch on the Refuel. It's basically the concept of using your Ethereum wallet to sign into anything on the internet. Basically, it's instead of signing in with Google, you sign in with Ethereum, and that means passwordless sign in. Your password's basically your private key, but it goes beyond that. It's not just simply connect wallet, as Brantley says here. So the reason it goes beyond that is because as you can see here in Brantley's thread, what is sign in with Ethereum? Well, let's say you want to use block scan chat. You can click the sign in button and you're presented with wallet options, just like Connect Wallet. But after you select your wallet provider, an extra step appears and you're asked to sign a message. We've all been asked to sign messages like this in the past. We're all pretty familiar with this interface. This message you're asked to sign is the core of signing with Ethereum and doesn't happen with Connect Wallet. It might not seem like much, but the sign in with Ethereum standard is mostly just a standard of what goes in that message and took a lot of thought, discussion, and debate. By signing the message, you prove you have your private key without revealing what it is, obviously. A server can then use that to match you to a user in their system. If that's too if that's too complicated, just know this: your private key basically acts as a login password to their servers, to whoever's server. So instead of these servers having to store passwords or store hashed versions of the passwords or anything like that, they don't have to do this at all. They can just say, okay, here, sign in with your Ethereum wallet, connect it, sign in, and sign this message, and then away you go. And then also on top of that, you have all of your user state as part of your Ethereum wallet. And this is in the context of other things I've talked about in the past as well, like something like a decentralized social media where you can take your social graph with you. It's so incredibly powerful, and it flips the client-server architecture on its head. It basically makes every client a server, really, at the end of the day, right? Not in the literal sense, but when you kind of think of it in the practical sense, you retain custody of all the important things. Yes, your data, your state is still living on the Ethereum blockchain. The Ethereum blockchain is your quote-unquote server, but it's decentralized, it's open, it's not locked away in some walled garden. You can kind of bring that wherever you want. Maybe the better term would be like a portable server, so to speak, right? You can bring it wherever you want. You can sign in with Ethereum. You can sign whatever message you want and prove whatever you want. And then we take that to the next level with things like Sysmo ZK badges, which I've talked about before, where you could prove yourself, prove who you are to certain services without needing to reveal any of that information. And that service could have cryptographic proof that you are who you say you are thanks to that ZK badge. And this stuff, guys, it's going to be so prevalent inside crypto, but also outside of it. You can already imagine the amount of use cases stuff like this has for things outside of crypto. And I think this is what a lot of people miss, is that we're not just developing this stuff for our niche little crypto corner where we have degens doing degen things. No, we're developing this stuff for for everyone, everywhere in the world. And a lot of this technology that we're developing, such as ZK, is going to have so many applications outside of crypto, outside of blockchain, outside of what we're used to in crypto, that I think a lot of people are going to be blown away by that. So don't miss the forest for the trees, so to speak, when it comes to this sort of stuff. There's definitely a lot happening. But yeah, you can go read Brantley's full Twitter thread. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so an interesting little, I guess, announcement from StarkWare here today. So apparently there is going to be a ZK EVM that is going to be written in Cairo called Kakarot. Now, for those of you who don't know, Kakarot is a reference to an anime called Dragon Ball Z. It's basically the name that Vegeta calls Goku in Dragon Ball Z. So basically, there's going to be a Twitter space with Vitalik, Eli Ben Sassoon, one of the co-founders of StarkWare, Shahar Papini and Abdelhamid Bakhtar here, which all, I believe, work at StarkWare except Vitalik. Yeah. And they're going to be talking about this new Kakarot ZK EVM. Now, what I find funny about this is that StarkWare has generally been maybe not against ZK EVM, but they've been signaling that they want to build something non-EVM as part of StarkNet, which they're still doing, obviously. But it's cool to see that they're actually building ZK EVM as well. This is a very strong social signal from StarkWare. The inventor of Starks, right? Eli is the ZK Stark co-inventor here. For them to come around to ZK EVM and actually see value in it and actually want to promote it in their own language, with being Cairo as well, is really, really cool. So this would be a ZK EVM written in Cairo. There's a Twitter account for it at Kakarot ZK EVM here, which you can go check out. But yeah, and there's also this Twitter Spaces, which I actually don't know when it's happening, but click through to maybe tell me tomorrow at 1 a.m. Okay, so that's 1 a.m. my time. So you can work out whatever time that is for you, but basically it's happening tomorrow. You can, actually, no, wait. I'm recording this 11 p.m., which means it's happening in 2 hours. Okay, so maybe it's already happened by the time you've watched the refuel. You can go check it out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so Arbitrum announced today that there is a new Arbitrum Nova block explorer that's now live, courtesy of Etherscan. So this is at nova.arbiscan.io. Now, for those of you who don't know, Arbitrum Nova is a separate network to Arbitrum 1. So Arbitrum 1 is the network that we've all used, we all know and love. It's a full optimistic rollup on Ethereum. It's got all the DeFi apps we love on there. Everything like that. Arbitrum Nova was created as a standalone, I guess. Oh God, some people call it L2, some people don't, but Arbitrum Nova uses an off-chain data availability committee, right? It's not a roll-up, and this is for Reddit's community points, is very popular on the Arbitrum Nova network. But now with this block explorer, you can see how they're growing. So basically, you can actually see they've been growing quite well. Unique addresses keep trending up. They're at 166,000 so far on Arbitrum Nova, and the daily transactions have also been creeping up as well here, which stand at about 30,000 on average, I think. Anywhere from 20 to 30,000 daily transactions. Obviously, nowhere near Ethereum mainnet or anything like that, but this is just Arbitrum Nova. I mean, I was looking at Arbitrum 1 before, and they're at I think almost 500,000 transactions per day, and that's growing. So the growth is what we want to see, and the growth is what we are seeing. So I use Arbiscan a lot and OptiScan and all these different scans to keep up with how these networks are going. So I'm super excited to have one for Arbitrum Nova now, because I think Arbitrum Nova is a pretty cool and important network that a lot of people are getting value out of. But, in the future, maybe Arbitrum Nova just becomes a full roll-up anyway, because it becomes cheap to put data on Ethereum mainnet. You don't need to have an off-chain data availability community, which is very, very cool, because that would automatically port all of that, I guess, network effect to a full roll-up. All right, so HopProtocol announced today their first liquidity mining program, which is now live. So liquidity providers in the Bridge AMMs can now stake their LP tokens to earn HOP rewards, in addition to the trading fees they were earning previously. And then they said, get ready for some very juicy rewards on single-sided asset exposure. Now, obviously, I don't know what the yields are right now. I don't have it handy on me, but there will be 2 million HOP that will be distributed to LPs per month. Since HOP is now a multi-chain token, the rewards can be claimed directly on each network that you are on. And of course, HOP tokens can also be bridged across L2s on HopProtocol at minimal cost. This is going to be really awesome for HOP bridge liquidity, obviously, because there's going to be a lot of people that come into it. to take advantage of this liquidity mining program and earn some HOP rewards. And we've seen how much of a flywheel effect that can have when done right. And I think the HopProtocol team, I mean, I've seen nothing but good things from them. They are a very, very strong team. They know what they're doing. It seems to be on the more conservative side with their liquidity mining program. And I think they have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge on what's worked and what hasn't in the liquidity mining space. So I'm excited to see how they approach it and how it actually continues over time. But yeah, if you are interested in providing liquidity here, you can be sure to do so. You just have to go to the Hop website, but I'll link the update or this thread in the YouTube description below for you to check out. All right, so I came across this new service today called Harpie, and they basically announced themselves by saying, signing a transaction is one of the scariest experiences in Web3. Am I signing the right thing? Is this website really OpenSea? Did I just get rugged? Well, we're launching Harpie, the first crypto firewall to end fear and theft on chain. Now, the reason why this caught my eye especially is because of Fire that I've been talking about lately as well, like that extension that tells you exactly what's going on when you do a transaction on MetaMask. Harpie is similar in that it's trying to protect users from things like this, but I think what Harpie is doing is a bit different in that they're creating what they're calling a crypto firewall. So basically what you can do is, and you can enter the app here, and I haven't actually gone through the process yet. So I've connected my wallet, so I connected Sassel.eth to this, and this is the onboarding process. So if I click continue, once I've connected my wallet, I say, okay, I use DeFi, I'll continue there. Then you go add apps to your trusted network. So I can add all these apps to my trusted network or remove them, deselect them and not include them. But I'm going to include everything right now. And then continue. You can add friends to your trusted network as well, and then it'll show you here what a summary of what you've done, and then you can create a dashboard. You got to agree to the terms of service. I'm signing a transaction in MetaMask here. Just bear with me, and this is just setting up my firewall. And basically, from my understanding, what this is going to do is it's only going to allow me to sign messages or submit transactions from things that I've allowed through my firewall. So for those of you who know what a firewall looks like and what a firewall how a firewall works in the traditional sense, well, this should make sense to you. And it doesn't seem to have worked so far. It says I'm not registered, get started, and it's going to make me go through the onboarding process again. All right, fair enough. Maybe it's just that a bug, because as I said, this just came out today, I believe. But anyway, the concept is that you're going to firewall off yourself from accidentally interacting with something that isn't what it says it is, which I think is incredibly powerful, because there's a lot of phishing sites out there. Say, for example, you go to a page, a Uniswap site that you think Uniswap is actually a phishing website. If you went to interact with that address or that smart contract, you wouldn't be able to. Harpie would block that. Harpie would tell you, hey, you're not interacting with real Uniswap, you're interacting with fake Uniswap. This is not part of your allowed apps. And that would save so many people from making these mistakes of interacting with these fake apps. That would save people so much money. And yeah, I mean, I see the absolute obvious use case here of something like this, and I'm really excited that this is out there. But this is more complementary to Fire as well. So if you were using Fire and Harpie together, it'd be really cool, because Fire will still tell you what's actually happening. Because at the end of the day, with even though you're allowing things through the Harpie firewall, those things can still become compromised, right? There can still be a bug in that smart contract, which makes it compromised, which means that you may be interacting with something that is different to what you expect it to be, even though you've allowed it through the firewall. So those go hand in hand, which I think is pretty cool. But you can go check out Harpie for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so another service I came across today was something called Daylight. So Daylight tells you everything your wallet can do, such as minting of NFTs, airdrops, unlocks, votes, etc. Their free access NFT called Dawn Pass lets you into their beta, and you can reply to the tweet with your ENS if your account to get your account to get your account allowed listed, and then you can head to beta.daylight.xyz to check it out. Now, I have already connected my wallet here. I was already allowed listed because I replied with Sassel.eth, and you can see here all the way it works. So basically, it'll show me my abilities. So what I can basically do right now, I can add different wallets to here. It's just Sassel.eth right now. I can filter through what I want to see, like a type, whether it's a mint, airdrop, or whatever else, what community it's part of, and all that good stuff there. And then I can see updates, I can see a profile, The abilities is pretty cool because you can mark them as completed or dismiss them as well. So I can just say, okay, cool, I saw this, mark as completed, I already did it, and then it'll mark it as completed there, and I can dismiss things, like dismiss, right? This is really cool because I think it's taking... So what it's doing is there's a website out there, I can't remember what it's called right now, that allows you to see where you've actually got airdrops claimable on, and it's behind a paywall, of course, but it's actually a pretty good business model because it's worth you paying, I think it's like $10 or something, to reveal airdrops that are worth more than that. But this goes, Daylight goes a step further than that and doesn't just show you airdrops, it shows you as much as it can, which I thought was really cool. So you can go check this out for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. I want to get through the last two updates here really quickly because I'm running out of time. 0x project introduced their 0x Explorer today, which they're calling the most reliable and transparent tool to help developers and users verify transactions and analyze on-chain activity in an easy and low-friction way on the 0x protocol here. So it's at explorer.0x.org. It looks very nice. They've had something similar to this in the past, I believe, but I think this is definitely an overhaul of that system. And you can go check this out for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below, but just wanted to highlight that for you guys. And last up here is something that Polymarket has launched called Midterms.co, which they're calling the ultimate hub for midterms forecast. So for those of you who don't know, the midterm elections are happening in the US next month, I believe early next month. There's obviously a lot on the line here. Because the Republicans could potentially flip the Senate here and the House to their control if they win, or the Democrats could hold on to control if they win, obviously. But if you want to bet on that, you can at midterms.co. It's powered by Polymarket. You can see the odds. You can see everything on here. Very, very cool little service. I've thought prediction markets are a cool thing for a while. They haven't really taken off just yet, but I think stuff like political betting and sports betting is definitely the ideal use case for prediction markets. And it's cool to see that they've spun up this midterms.co on Polymarket domain here in order to let you bet on the midterms. But I think that's going to be it for today. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.